right, guys, welcome back to the episode this week. We're back on the 70 Chevelle. That's right, man. We're here in the clean room at Salvage's Savage. This week, we're gonna be completely assembling the whole chassis. We're gonna be getting our drivetrain back in it. We got our blocks sitting over there. We're gonna get all our accessory drives on there. We're gonna be mocking up our turbo system, getting our fuel system in, putting all the brake lines back on. We got a ton of work to do in this episode. We're also gonna be walking over to Florida Auto Body, checking out the progress on the car. So I'm excited, man. I hope you guys are too. I know it's been a long process with the Chevelle, but it's time to get it going. So let's go.
Here we have all the brake lines that went on the chassis. Of course, we had to take them off for paint, so we're gonna go ahead and put these back on. Alright guys, so we got the whole front suspension put back together. So now we're gonna go ahead and get the fuel cell that is over there in the corner installed. So first thing that we're gonna do is put the wheels back on, because the mounting bolts for the fuel cell brackets are under here. So we gotta get these jack stands out the way. So. Alright guys, so we finally got the Chevelle chassis put back together. Got the gas tank in there. All the suspension is in and bolted down. We even got our wheels on, so you know what time it is. I'm gonna drop this baby down on the ground. I think now what we're gonna go ahead and do is take the motor off the stand, get it sat back down in there.
All right, our young buck Khalil has been killing it in the clean room as we're working on other projects. Super proud of him. He's got the chassis pretty much all put back together. Now we're able to start running our fuel system. We are also getting ready to start dressing up our engine a little bit. We have some fresh valve covers coming from our boy JC. We got a bunch of other stuff obviously we could be doing, but for now, I'm gonna have Khalil start working on those Garret turbos, man. I've been super excited. Back when Cha-Ching was around, if you guys don't know Cha-Ching, make sure you go back way to the beginning of our YouTube and check it out. The turbos were polished. So here we got our Garret turbos. These are cast aluminum. You could leave them like this, but we're gonna give these things a polish job. So we're gonna need to get some of this casting off, sand this thing down with 220, 320, 400, 600, maybe even 800. We'll see how far we wanna go. And then we're gonna take them over to the buffing wheels and give these things a little shine up.
Alright guys, so I finished polishing up the turbo housings, and boy do they look sick. You know, it's a huge difference from what they were before. So we're gonna go ahead and bolt these back together, and then we're gonna go ahead and get the turbo system mocked up.
I know these are gonna have to come back off, but we just think it looks really cool like that. It's looking very angry. So we polished up our turbos. We're gonna probably be sending out our intake manifold to get polished as well, just to kind of keep the theme of a nice blingy engine. At this point, we're gonna start jumping onto the fuel system. We just got a whole big shipment of Vibrant Performance fuel fittings and hoses. So we're gonna be running a dash 10, because this pump is a dual pump. So we're gonna be tying in our dash 8 lines into a Y, into a dash 10, running it all the way down the chassis, Ying back out, and running into our fuel rails on the intake. So we have all of our fittings that we're gonna need. We have some of these really beautiful clamps, all the hoses. Before I get started on this, I'm gonna go take a walk next door. I think it's time to check the progress on the bodywork. So let's go take a look. All right, so I'm over here at Florida Auto Collision Center. As you see on the wall, these have been my neighbors for 3 years now. They've done a bunch of little paint jobs for me. This is the first time that I've sent over a full car for them to do. I'm really excited, as well as them. So they've already kind of started working on some of the miscellaneous parts. As you see, we have our inner fenders up here. They've already done some Bondo on this one. We have our front fenders here. If you guys remember, this was a patch that David welded in, yes, and then cut this hole. So this was a welded patch. Now it's already looking very smooth. So at this point, they have a Bondo in here, yeah, and then they have a filler primer. So they're gonna come back in and block all this down, make all these lines really straight. I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to see this thing in color. So right now they're taking all the old paint off the areas where they got some body work to do. So obviously this was a metal patch, so they're gonna be doing some Bondo to this. So they took this whole area down to bare metal, got rid of the primer and any Bondo that was in here. This is not an original paint. As you see, there is a bunch of Bondo stacked up on these fenders. But he's telling me that whoever did it did a pretty good job. You know, it's a very straight, smooth car to start with. So luckily for that, they're not gonna have to take the whole car down to bare metal. Basically what they're gonna end up doing is scuffing the surface that doesn't need any body work down like this. So they're gonna just create that mechanical abrasion look. And then this whole car, after it's done in body work, will be primed. So they got one guy working on this side. We got another guy working over here. This is only like day 3 over here. So I'm pretty stoked. This door's already been body worked. And so now that he's got this door in a primer, he's gonna start working on this gap here. So as you see, it's kind of all over the place. He's got a very little bit here. This side right here is pretty straight, you know, and then he kind of open up right here. So he's gonna be adding body putty to close this gap up here and make it a little bit more straight going all the way down. All right, just left over Florida Auto Body. The boys are doing a great job on the car. They're moving along real fast, which means we got to get back on this chassis. So we've pretty much got the whole chassis assembled. We still got to throw the transmission in. We're waiting for this little part right here, which is come in from Attack the Clock. So now we'll be able to get our transmission put back in. We're gonna get our drive shaft measured up. We're gonna be going with a carbon fiber drive shaft on this one from QA1, so I'm excited to be working with that. The last big step that we got to do is install our fuel system, fuel lines rather. So we already got our Ricks tank put in. It's got a hat with dual Walbro 525 pumps. So we're going to be running E85 on this build. One of these pumps is capable of doing about 900 horsepower on E85 with boost. So times 2, definitely going to be able to make 1500 horsepower. So well, at least our gas will. I'm not so sure that our setup with our motor and our turbos will do 1500 horsepower. Not so sure we even need that much, but 1000 would be nice. So we're going to be running these 2 -8s this way down this side of the passenger side of the car. We're going to tee these 2 8s into a -10. That way we don't have 3 fuel lines running down the car. So we'll have our return main pump and then our auxiliary pump. So we're gonna turn a hard 90 out of this. We got a 45 and we're gonna go straight, bring all our lines up to here. Maybe we're gonna make our T somewhere in this area right here, strapping it to the underside of here, and then we're gonna shoot back down over here to our cross member. We're not so sure how much space we have in between the top of this frame rail and the body of the car. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut an access here. Unfortunately, yes, we're cutting into this chassis that's been painted, not a big deal. And then we're gonna do 2 bulkheads. So we'll have our return line, our -8 bulkhead will be here, and then we'll have a -10 bulkhead here on a 90. We'll run them through here, down the side of the frame rail over here, and then back up to the motor on this side over here. So all right, I got my 2 3/4 inch holes drilled out on my frame. That's the biggest drill bit I have. So I'm gonna have to use a step bit to get the rest of the way, or maybe like a little Dremel tool. So I'm gonna start running my lines from my tank coming this way. I don't wanna crisscross them over, so I wanna make sure, I believe this is gonna be the 10 on the bottom and the 8 up here. But like I said, I'm gonna start mocking it up, make sure that we don't have some kind of weird crossover with our lines. All right, we got our first hose line made up. This is gonna be for our main pump. So this is gonna kind of determine where our Y is gonna land. So I'm gonna get this mounted to the bottom of this support section here. I'll get my Y made up, and then I'll be able to get a measurement for my auxiliary pump to the Y. So I got the -8 bulkhead in. It actually works out pretty well. I'm probably gonna go ahead and take a little bit of steel off the top. So at this point, instead of doing a closeout panel, I'm probably just gonna weld in some steel from the face of our frame here back to the inside of the other piece of frame. Just kind of make it a recess, then we can paint it. It'll look real nice. All right, now that we got our little recess area for our bulkheads all done, it's welded. We actually added some seam sealer on all the welded seams. It's painted. Bulkheads are installed. We got our -10 for our return and our -10 for our main feed. So I had to order a bunch of more fittings, which just kind of came in just now as I was finishing up that bulkhead. So we got all these Vibrant Performance fittings. It's amazing how many fittings you need to get a job like this done. We also picked up some more braided line for our return. I was kind of worried that that was not going to be enough. So I've been back and forth next door at the auto body shop, just kind of making sure that I wasn't going to run into any problems once I get our body set back on the chassis. Ran some dimensions, kind of jotted down some thoughts. There's like a bump out where our passenger and driver's seat sit, which are kind of like in this area right here. So I was a little leery about installing my fuel filter in this section because I was afraid it was gonna hit that bump out. So I'm gonna just run these 2 lines along this side and keep them down low. There is room above this little cross section and our body. So I'm gonna come up and over that, and I'm probably gonna install my fuel filter along this side. There's a lot more clearance here than there is back here. All right, we got our main feed through our bulkhead, through the frame, 90'd along the side of the frame here, shooting down. We're gonna go over this little cross member, and this is where our fuel filter is gonna live. I'm gonna go ahead and mount it here, then I'll be able to cut my line and continue. All right, now that we got our return and our feed line ran, our -10 and our -8 PTFE lines through the bulkhead, turning 90, coming down the side rail over here. We got our fuel filter installed. This is where we're gonna stop on both because we're gonna have to get the body of the Chevelle put back on the chassis before we can land our regulator. So our -10 is gonna be going into the regulator, back out, and then into our fuel rails. And then we're gonna be coming back, and of course the Dash 8 is our return line. So for now, these are gonna be just kind of chilling here, but I am gonna come back through and do some housekeeping. We're gonna be adding some clamps. We got some P-clamps, a nice billet P-clamps from Vibrant for our Dash 8 and our Dash 10 lines. We also have separators, so these will keep them nice and tight like this. So they'll look like this, but these will keep these together. You get the point. These will make them nice and even all the way down, just make it look clean. So we're getting closer and closer. We had the motor pulled back out because we finally got our coupler adapter. Actually, now we have 2 of them. These things are pretty cool. So these come from Dommy Works. This comes with the whole assembly on our billet adapter here that's mounted to our LSX motor, which adapts to our BMW transmission that's sitting over yonder. So today our goal was to get the transmission back in the car, and we were gonna go ahead and measure for our drive shaft. But always something with these custom things, man. So this is our original coupler adapter, and this is the one that just got sent out. So the difference here is this is a 6-bolt and this one's an 8-bolt. So we needed an 8-bolt. However, if you notice, this one's a little short. So it turns out this is about 1 inch short. So when our motor and our transmission match up, we're not able to kind of catch these splines onto the BMW DCT transmission. So just got off the phone with Sean from Attacking the Clock, who's gonna get on the phone with the boys over at Dommy Works, which is actually in Netherlands. So unfortunately now we're gonna have to hold tight a bit here on getting the rest of our chassis put together. We won't have our transmission in just yet. So, you know, one of those things, man. It's about as far as we can go for now until we get our Chevelle body back on the chassis. So I think this is a good time to go over next door and check on the boys at Florida Auto Collision. We'll see what they got going on. They've done a whole bunch of body work, Bondo. They got all of our lines all looking real nice. All of our doors are gapped real good. Everywhere that we did any metal work and welding have all been body worked in. Our line on our roof is looking real nice. So yeah, right now he's just doing the blocking, which is basically sanding it down with this long block. Nice and smooth, see? Nice and smooth. The next step is they're gonna be throwing some epoxy primer on it. So all these parts are pretty much ready to go. I think this might be a good opportunity to show you guys what color we're doing the Chevelle. I know you guys have all been trying to guess. A lot of people really love this orange. I like the orange, it grew on me. But you know what, at the end of the day, it's not my car, it's not your car. This car belongs to somebody, and this is the color he wanted. So, you guys ready? Give me a drum roll. Boom. A lot of people kind of guess that. It's like a deep metallic red. This color actually is a stock color that would come on a Dodge Charger. So it looks pretty sharp. I think it's gonna look really good. Now, the whole car is not gonna be this color. So we do have a couple little surprises that are in store. The majority of the car is going to be this red color, but some stuff is not. But I'm going to leave that for the next episode. We're going to show you guys how we ended up selecting this color, the whole process of getting a rendering done. So that's it for this episode, man. Next time you see this body, it's going to be painted. Hopefully we're going to be rolling this thing back over to our shop, getting it on that chassis so we can move forward, man. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for staying patient with this Chevelle process. I know it's been a long one. Hey, like I said, that's custom car building, man. Sometimes you win, sometimes you gotta wait and be patient. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.